It's Frank here with 4D Honeybee with some basic equipment that you're going to need to start off your beekeeping career. This is what's worked for me. I'm sure there are some variations that you can go with here, but this will get you started for sure, and hopefully I'll be able to give you some choices as far as different budgets that you might be able to choose from. So first thing we're going to start with here is this is a beekeeping jacket or a suit. At least it's the top part of the suit. And you can see it has an integrated hood on it, and this isn't a cheap unit, and this probably goes for around 80 bucks Canadian, 50 US or so. And you can see this one is quite porous, right? So it allows a lot of air to get in and out, allows you to breathe, but it is still very hot because it's thick. It's a thick material so that the bees can't sting you through it. So there's several layers of it there, and the truth is the bees still can sting you through it. Not very often, but last season I got 8 stings in one day with this because it was a very hot day. I wasn't wearing a t-shirt underneath. I must have stuck to me quite a bit because of the sweat in my back, and the bees were not particularly happy. So you do get stung with these, just not that frequently. The other thing about this is because this hood, now they do have wires right here in this hood to try to keep some shape and keep the hood away from your face, the sides and the front of your face. But the truth is, there again, you're probably best to wear a baseball cap underneath this thing just to keep it away from your face, because if it is touching your skin or your ears on the sides here, they can sting you through there when they're not happy. So what I'm going with this year is instead of that entire bee jacket, is I'm going to go with a combination of a bonnet like this, so a hat and a veil on top. So this veil just unwrap it, and it just sits on top of that hat and gives you much better protection, I think, anyway. Of course, you have to tie the ends of it off. So I'll probably just wear that and a shirt, because heat to me is a more important factor than bee stinging in the summer when you're doing this beekeeping, because you just start pouring sweat, and you hate to be dropping sweat on the bees. And I think this outfit for me now, 3 years in, will be better than this. But it's probably a good bet to start with this type of a thing. Alternative to that is just something I have over here. It's just a regular bee shirt. So something you can buy from a camping outfit or even from a dollar store. They have some versions of a bug shirt like this. And again, bug shirt with an integrated hood. And then all you need to do is wear a baseball cap so the hood's not right against your face and you're laughing. You got yourself a bee suit. So, you know, and you can do that for well under 20 bucks, probably under 10 bucks. And you can go from 10 to over 100 just in your shirt. So next thing you're going to need when you're starting up beekeeping is gloves. Now in year 2 I abandoned my gloves, and it made me a better beekeeper, but there was no way I was going to start beekeeping without gloves. As a matter of fact, it took me a real long time to gather the courage and the skill to be able to go without. So these are typical beekeeper gloves, leather mitt and an extended gauntlet, if you will, just so that you can override your sleeves on it. And bees can sting through this as well. I got stung several times through this leather. The thing is, it's not a very potent sting. It's not a very powerful sting, but they'll get through this for sure. So again, these are not cheap items either, probably around 20 bucks. But you can also just use dollar store gloves, right? There's no reason why with a long sleeve and something like this kind of glove, there's no reason why you cannot use this to keep, and again, be fairly protected. Again, if a bee gets onto this, they're going to be able to sting you through that, no doubt, but you're going to get stung beekeeping, there's no doubt. You just don't get stung all that often. So that's the next item you need, gloves. The next thing is a tool, right? It's your Hive Tool. So the Hive Tool is more or less a prying tool, but it's kind of a prying tool, 2 types of prying. One is, you know, this sharpened edge here that you can see is sharpened just like the end of a chisel, right? And I'm surprised at how much you need the sharpness of this tool, because you use it to pry in between your boxes just to open and crack the hive. But then you also use this to cut packaging. It's like having a combination of a knife and a pry bar in there. And they generally come with two different types of ends here. One is like a J hook like this, and you basically again use this to get leverage and pry up on your frames. Or that sometimes they come with just a 90-degree angle bend. Again, same type of thing. You just use it for leverage. Now, again, if you want to get away without using this, this is probably... You don't see many beekeepers without a pry bar, a pry tool like this. But you could really just use a decent slotted screwdriver for that job as well. The main difference here is that when you're prying with the screwdriver, which they always say you're not supposed to pry with, but let's face it, that's what we do use them for. When you're prying with the screwdriver, it's a much smaller surface area at the tip than that of the Hive Tool, which means you could damage it. It could be easier to damage your hive boxes with this, because you might end up chipping out more wood. And again, sometimes those hive boxes are really, really glued on. So you could do this if you've got it, save yourself the expense of this, but you just need to be more careful with that. Right? That's the next item you need. Really important item here. One that I don't see how you could do without, and I don't see what a good substitute would be, is the smoker, right? So they do come in different sizes, but I think this is a middle-of-the-road smoker. And it's pretty self-explanatory. I don't know what you could use as a substitute for this, or if you could make your own. I bet you some people can, but it would probably cost you more than just going out and buying this one. Interesting thing about the smoker is you got to keep these rims clean. After basically midway through the season, you can see the smoker gets full of this creosote stuff, and it's quite thick and quite nasty, and it becomes quite a glue as well. I guess probably depending on what you burn. If you're burning things with sap, which pretty much all woods would have to one degree or another, you form a glue right around the edge of the smoker here. So every now and then you just grab a little piece of emery cloth and just rub it down just to prevent that buildup there, because if you don't, and you leave this thing closed for a certain amount of time, or maybe certain type of atmospheric conditions, it could just glue itself shut, and then it becomes an absolute mess to try and get this thing open. And the last thing you want to do is be messing around with that when you're out in the field ready to get into your hives. Last thing you've got to do is turn on your smoker, and it could become quite a mess. That is it for the absolute musts that I believe you need to have. Another decent thing to have is a little brush like this. Now this is a bee brush, and I guess, you know, if you want to pay more for this, you can go ahead and get it. But this does have a little tapered end here, so you could use this as a hive tool in an absolute pinch. But good luck getting that thing in between most hive boxes. It's a very soft bristled brush, but again, you could just go to a dollar store and buy a soft bristled brush and have it on. I didn't use this thing until the very end of the first season, when I was removing frames to take bees or to take honey away. Then I used this a couple of times. So you could have one of those. The other thing you could have, but you don't need to, is a frame puller. So this thing just grabs frames, and you squeeze it and pull it out. And again, a handy thing to have for the odd frame that might be broken or might be in a tricky spot to pull out, but definitely not something you need to buy right off the bat. So you're looking at, you know, on the high end of things, if you're starting with a bee shirt or a suit, you can go up, you know, between 80 to 120 bucks. Let's say for gloves, 20 bucks, hive tool, 15, smoker, I don't know, 15 I'd say. So you're looking at, you know, just under a couple $100 probably to just get the gear on the high end. On the low end, if you're going with, you know, your own maybe bug net, bonnet combination, dollar store gloves, screwdriver, smoker, dollar store brush, you could probably start beekeeping with equipment for under 50 bucks. So that's my sort of basics. You know, you throw it all into a little kit like what you see down here. I've always got igniters. I've always got fuels in there like chips and starter stuff like egg cartons and newspapers, and I've got some syrup in there, and I throw a multi-tool in there because you never know when you're going to need it. But that's, again, more than the absolute basic stuff that you need to start beekeeping. So I hope this is helpful. I'll go, next video will probably be either a winter inspection or a video on hive components and what you need for a hive, and then you just need bees to start your beekeeping. Hope you enjoy.